Oh, hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Welcome to Friday, the Friday night Joe Chaffee Weather Show. It is coming up on 6 o'clock Eastern Time as we head into the Memorial Day holiday weekend. I want to just say right up front, please have a safe weekend and enjoy, but also do remember Monday, Memorial Day. Take even a moment's time out to just remember that for those that have given up their lives for our country, for our freedoms here in the United States of America, Memorial Day is a day of observance, and sometimes we get a little we forget that. So I just wanted to give everybody just a little subtle reminder that Memorial Day is a bit of a somber day. And a moment of silence or a minute just to remember those that have given up their lives. So anyway, we'll move forward to with the weather. There's a lot of weather going on again in the same usual areas that we've seen it. The severe weather was a bit quiet this morning, but it has picked up, and we've got a couple of working tornado watch boxes up in the southern plains. I had for my area last night at 10 o'clock, right as I was going on the air, a tornado warning went up for parts of Sussex and Warren counties in northwest New Jersey from a cell that developed and moved literally just south of Mount Pocono and straddled Route 80 eastward and just kind of just straddled that main highway all the way through. There was rotation indicated on the radar. It came and went in about 30 minutes time. There were no reports of an actual tornado being sighted or one touching down, but just based on the rotation, the Weather Service took the absolute correct course of least regret. You put up a tornado warning, and thankfully it didn't amount to much other than a pretty hefty thunderstorm that moved on through. And by the way, those storms last night were racing at over 60 miles an hour. I mean, they were literally flying eastward. We talked about the fact that we were wondering whether there was going to be a second band of showers and storms, and indeed we did see that. All right, we've had a really nice day today. The wind was a bit on the busy side, but that's going to ease. My outlook for my area, eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, which includes Philadelphia, New York City, lower Hudson Valley, New Jersey, Long Island, southern Connecticut, we're pretty much staying straight on with the original idea for the weekend and for Monday, which was that the dayside parts would be fine for the most part. And while there is the threat that there could be a shower or thunderstorm, it would likely come Saturday during the overnight hours and again Sunday night. Small chance that there could be some isolated cells around Sunday afternoon, because Sunday's going to be the warmest day of the three and the most humid of the three. Tomorrow, Saturday, will be the coolest because there'll be a south wind, and that's going to be holding temperatures down. So let's get started tonight. I want to go, we haven't really been spending a whole lot of time. Of course, we've seen all this severe weather that's gone on through the plains for the last 7 days or more. And the obvious attention has been focused on the tornadoes, but we haven't really been paying a whole lot of attention to the rain that has fallen in this area. So I want to start off first with the Weather Prediction Center's WPC rainfall forecast map. And this is the rainfall forecast for the next 7 days. So from starting tonight and going to next Friday night, a lot of the areas that have already gotten clobbered with rain are forecast to get excessive rain again on the order of several to many inches. That reddish, you start to see that little hint of orange in there, and you look on the scale on the side and you're starting to push amounts up to 4, 5, 6 inches of rainfall. And oftentimes in situations like this with what we've seen, that the rainfall has wound up being much more than what has been forecast. You can only, here's the thing: if you're forecasting a half a foot of rain, that's a lot of water. To me, it's very hard to put a top end number on excessive events you can guess, but sometimes even guessing numbers that sound fairly outrageous wind up being conservative. Now, think back to the rainfall forecast that we've seen here back days and days ago, showing 7-day rainfall amounts. And what I've found, this is a tool on the Weather Service's website among so many great tools they have. But if you go to water.weather.gov/precip, you can build your own rainfall map. So what I've done is I've built the rainfall map for the last 7 days. And here you can see in that purplish area between 10 and 15 inches of rain has fallen in parts of northeastern Oklahoma into a small portion of southwest Missouri and just touching the Kansas line, and that larger area of 5 inches plus. This is a ton of rain. This is the rainfall from the last 7 days. So think about the WPC's rainfall forecast maps that we've seen, and you know what? They did a really good job here with showing the rain and getting that forecast in terms of the max area. The yellow starts where it starts the 2-inch rainfall amounts in the last 7 days, and that is also very extensive on up through not only the plains, but in the Mississippi Valley and heading up into parts of the upper Midwest, and also across the northern plains. You've got some areas that got 3, 4, 5 inches in the last 7 days. Now take a look at the rainfall. I'm going to widen out just to show you the whole U.S. And the rain in the last week, California also getting quite a bit. And remember, the trough's been in the west. So we've seen some excessive rainfalls in the mountains in the Sierra Nevadas, of course. A lot of that's been in the form of snow. Some 5-inch plus rainfall amounts. I don't think it directly translated into, say, 50 inches of snow, but we know that some of those mountains got up to 2 feet. And, of course, the precip has been excessive in Colorado, where also some of this has been in the form of snow with the very, very cold weather conditions that they've experienced. And in the meantime, as I'll move it across, and we'll go into the Northeast, some areas have gotten 1 to 2 inch amounts. It's been convective, but certainly nothing like what's been going on out to the west of us, across from the Great Lakes and then down through the plains. And in the Southeast, where it has been hot, this has all been convective in nature, and the rain has been minimal here. Most the areas you're seeing some inch to 1.5 inches in the darker greens, but that's been about it. There have been a lot of areas that haven't seen a drop of rain at all in the last 7 days. Southernmost Florida, in and around the Keys, some 2-inch plus amounts, and then a little bit of precip going up the west coast, a little bit of precip going up the east coast, and that's been it. So it's been quite an experience with respect to rainfall. I'm just going to show you what's fallen. This is as of this morning, so this does not include what's happened today. So we're talking about from 8 a.m. this morning back to 8 a.m. Thursday morning. And there's your excessive rain in through parts of northeastern Oklahoma into southwestern Missouri. Some 2, 3, and 4-inch rainfall amounts just in the 24-hour period ending at 8 a.m. Eastern time. And, of course, the amounts kind of tail off a bit, but still not too shabby, seeing 1/2 to 2 inches of rain going on up northeast from there through the state of Missouri and into west central Illinois. So the 24-hour rainfall continues to be centered. The heavy stuff has been, in an area that's just getting pounded. And guess what? There's more pounding to come over the next several days and into next week, because we still got to get rid of that trough out in the west. And in fact, the WPC puts out a map very similar to what SPC does, except their reference is excessive rainfall, and you can see they have a high risk of excessive rainfall in a small portion of north central Oklahoma into southeastern Kansas. This map doesn't give a number. There's flash flood guidance that the Weather Service offices use. How much rain do we need in order to produce some flash flooding? And it's relative to that guidance. So the risk is high for flash flooding in the area indicated, a moderate risk going on up into northern Illinois, including the city of Chicago. So it's a narrow band, but it is playing into an area that's been hit fairly hard. Now, as far as this evening is concerned, we do have a couple of working tornado watches that are up in West Texas, Northwest Texas, through the state of Oklahoma, and into southeast Kansas. And I think there is also a third watch box that's up to the north and east of that, which we'll get to in a second. So the radar at the moment, as of 6:10, showing some hefty thunderstorms. We have a number of severe thunderstorm warnings up. I can see 2 tornado warnings at the very, very top of the screen here. And when we check out by the way, the surface obs, you're talking about, I actually can, dew points, again, now those 70 dew points shooting all the way up. When I pull the surface map up in a bit, we'll see how extensive those 70 dew points are running. I just want to go up to that one other area. We're going to go to a little further to the north so we can see the other working tornado watch that is up. And you can see it there covering the state of Illinois, across central Illinois. That is the current working tornado watch there. I don't have it on the side menu to pull it up specifically. The one that's down in Oklahoma is forecast. That's because it might be loaded in the different zone. I'll pull it up on the other map. But here, this watch goes until 10 o'clock Central Daylight Time. The other watch is, and they're also indicating now that they may put up a severe thunderstorm watch possible for the northern half of Missouri. Always remember, folks, if you're watching this on the replay, you know what the rule is. Make sure you go to your local National Weather Service office to check the latest weather conditions. If you're watching this on a replay, you're seeing dated information, and you can find that, of course, by going to weather.gov. So here's the severe thunderstorm watch that's up. The tornado watch that is up, Tornado Watch 231. This one actually is going to, this just expired. Okay, so that tornado watch that's has just expired. Let me get this straight here. It's a little confusing with what's happening here. Let's see. So this tornado watch that's in central Illinois, I've noticed today that some of their maps have been updating faster than others. Okay, so this is the northern Illinois. The Illinois tornado watch actually expired at 6:05, at 5:05 Central Time, 6:05 Eastern. So that's done. And the other two are still in effect. The one that runs from Kansas down into Oklahoma, and then we have the one up that's up in northwest Texas. And that's this one, I believe. Yes, and this one is valid until 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's going to be another busy day, busy evening here. I have someone I know that is from upstate New York who's out storm chasing right now in Oklahoma, and I think this might be his first time doing it. And he's if you've been on my Facebook page, I have put up his pictures that he takes up at Lake Ontario of the Northern Lights. Well, he is, and he oftentimes gets great shots of lightning displays that go on over Lake Ontario, which are very, very dramatic. Well, he's down in Oklahoma right now, experiencing these thunderstorms, and has been putting videos up. I've been sharing a couple of them on my Facebook page, and I have to tell you, he himself is beyond impressed with what he's seen in terms of the strength of some of these thunderstorms. He's seen several tornadoes in what he's been experiencing here with the weather in the southern plains. So the risk areas going forward, we'll get to that in a second. But on the surface map tonight, you've got this warm front and a low that's analyzed down right on the corner of New Mexico and Texas there. But take a look at these dew points. I mean, you've got these 70-plus dew points running all up through Oklahoma, on up into, you've got 70 dew points up in northern Missouri and in through parts of the state of Illinois. I mean, this is really just absolutely saturated air. Warm front cuts across the state in half. You go on the other side of that, it's in the low 60s to low 70s in northern Illinois, the northern half of the state, and you're seeing temperatures mostly in the mid and upper 80s to the south. So that's a pretty sharp dividing line with that warm front that is moving northeastward. And this frontal boundary will be shifting east and impacting our weather tomorrow night, but it's going to be so much weaker. This system is going to be weaker than the one that went through yesterday that produced some showers and storms. There wasn't a whole lot of severe weather up in my area with the first band that came through the evening. That hit parts of Maryland and the Delmarva Peninsula hard last night with severe thunderstorm warnings and even a couple of tornado warnings that were issued. And then we had a second follow-up band that came through around 9, 10 o'clock that produced the tornado warning in Sullivan County, in the Catskills, and also in northwest New Jersey. And I don't think on either one of those warnings did we see an actual confirmed tornado. Meanwhile, it's been hot in the southeast. They have been experiencing temperatures up into the 90s for the last several days. That continues today. We've got temperatures up into the 90s into southern Virginia, most of North and South Carolina, and in through Georgia and North Florida. And that looks to continue in the coming days. There's not a whole lot you can do when you've got a ridge along the East Coast. You need to get it to break down, and this time of year, when you get these upper highs to sit for long periods of time, you've got issues with respect to temperatures. And the dew points are in the low 60s, but with temperatures in the low 90s, I mean that's reason. The humidity is it's a little uncomfortable, but it's not crazy uncomfortable until you start to see some places starting to push those dew points up to 66, 67, 68. Then it becomes problematic. Radar right now, taking a look at it, we'll head down into the southern plains again. We're starting to see the bubbling up of severe thunderstorms across northwest Texas and through western Oklahoma up into Kansas. It's a narrow northeast-southwest band that kind of defines the sort of frontal boundary that we're dealing with. And up to the north, where we've got low pressure, we've got some rain and some heavier downpours up in parts of North Dakota. Not a whole lot happening in and around the lakes. With that warm front setting up, you're seeing some showers developing across Michigan and actually those showers poking into northwest PA and western New York, but they're kind of evaporating because of the fact that you've got all this dry air here in the east, and those dry conditions right down through the Carolinas into Georgia. You can't even get daytime thunderstorm development. It's just absolutely free and clear all the way down through the state of Florida. So let's evaluate the risk area going forward. First off, for Saturday, well, here's tonight's, okay, from SPCs. You can see tonight's risk area. They've got slight risk from Texas on up into the Great Lakes, and a very small area of enhanced risk inside that southernmost tornado watch. Looks like we just had a new tornado watch that just went up, and this one is tornado watch number 234, which extends from Texas into Oklahoma here. This is this goes until 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern time. So this was just issued by SPC, and this is that side menu here, updates. It refreshes, I don't know, maybe every couple of minutes or perhaps sooner than that. So as soon as they are ready to send something out, it pops right up there, and you can just pull it off, and there's a discussion that goes with it, but I don't want to go through it right now. Don't have a whole lot of time on it tonight, but if you want to see it for yourself, go to spc.noaa.gov, which is their homepage. Now here's the risk area for Saturday. We have another big area in the southern plains, North Texas, western Oklahoma, northwest Texas, western Oklahoma, and much of the state of Kansas going to be under enhanced risk for severe weather on Saturday. The slight risk runs from Texas northward and then turns eastward across the middle Mississippi Valley. A bit of a break to another area of slight risk that is from northeastern Indiana across the northern half of Ohio, much of northwest Pennsylvania, almost getting to about the middle of the state there, north central PA, and in through southwestern New York, with the marginal risk pushing a little further east into eastern PA, but it does not reach my area. Easternmost PA, New Jersey, Long Island, western Connecticut, and the Hudson Valley to the Catskills, just a general risk for thunderstorms, and this is going to come during Saturday night, not during the day on Saturday. And Sunday, same story, wash, rinse, repeat for the southern and central plains, slight risk there. Will we be shocked if this winds up going to an enhanced risk on Sunday? I think not. And a marginal risk, a small area of marginal risk, southern half of Indiana, actually a little bit more than the southern, good chunk of the state of Indiana, most of the southern half of Ohio, and parts of northwestern West Virginia. So that'll take care of the weather risk going through Sunday. And there is also, I should have gone to day, let's go back to this. Monday being day 4 shows some risk developing across Nebraska and into Iowa. So right here. So this would be for Memorial Day. That 15% is the equivalent of a slight risk. So let's take you through the weekend as far as what kind of weather conditions to expect. And we're starting with the GFS from a couple of hours ago, 2 o'clock this afternoon. We have, of course, you've got a low moving southeast of Nova Scotia. The isobars tightly packed into the high that's over in James Bay. So we've had this, rather tight gradient and the busy wind here, but this is dry air that's over us. And now that we're into the evening hours, that gradient has relaxed for the most part. You're seeing the fire up with the storms in the plains, of course, the trough being in the west, and some rain and snows up in the northern Rockies for this evening. Then as we move on to Saturday, in the east, I think we're fine. I think we're going to be dry all day. Now, that front is going to be pushing across the lakes and heading into western New York and western PA tomorrow afternoon and evening. That's where I think you'll see the thunderstorm activity. Western half of Pennsylvania, upstate New York, north and west of the Catskills, going into north central and western New York, where you'll see some downpours and thunderstorms there, back through Ohio and Indiana. But as far as the eastern part of the state of Pennsylvania, down in through the eastern part of Virginia, Maryland, out to Delaware, New Jersey, southern New England, I don't think you're going to see anything in terms of showers or storms. This is at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, so you're going to be fine. And it may not be until after that, probably right after that. This is where we'll open up the possibility that there could be some showers or thunderstorms. It looks to me like there'll be a weakening line that'll be moving southeastward here. And then as we head into Sunday, there's no real push of cool air with this first front. It's just going to play through, and we're going to have to wait for a secondary front to come through Sunday night. So in between all that, I think we're going to have a very warm and humid day on Sunday with temperatures in the 80s and a mix of sun and clouds. In the meantime, fire up the storms across Kansas late Saturday afternoon into Saturday night. Bring in another low into California with rains and some snows in the Sierra Nevadas, with the trough still hanging there in the west. And then here's our front Sunday evening, probably getting into some showers and storms during Sunday night. I'm not expecting anything widespread here. This also kind of underwhelms as far as I'm concerned. It might be a bit more active across central and western Pennsylvania through Ohio and Indiana and into Illinois. But as far as my neck of the woods, I'm thinking that it may not be all that active as it goes through. And then Monday, Memorial Day, we've got high pressure building in from southern Canada. Nice northerly flow, much like today without the pressure gradient, really. And temperatures in the mid-70s to low 80s. It should be a fairly nice day. Here comes the next system coming out of the plains. That's going to be taking its sweet time getting out of there, by the way. So get set for some more rain and snow in parts of Colorado and Wyoming late Monday into Tuesday morning. A 984 low sitting there in western Nebraska. So there's going to be a wrapped up low in that position. For this time of year, that's a pretty formidable low. A warm front that extends across the northern lakes. Tuesday, it's another one of these warm front, cold front setups, much like what we've seen. Southerly winds ahead of it, and this might transition us over into a couple of very warm to borderline hot days here and humid days come Wednesday into Thursday of next week. You've got southwest winds high off the east coast, low pressure that's up in Iowa, showers and storms for Tuesday night into Wednesday throughout much of the Mississippi Valley and the Great Lakes. That front weakens quite a bit and then gets through here finally sometime on Thursday, maybe later in the day Thursday, and we'll see some showers and storms then. But Wednesday in particular, and maybe Thursday too, could be 2 days where we see temperatures here in the east in the 80s to around 90, and then after that, we'll get it out of the way, and I think we set up for maybe a nice Friday and a nice Saturday for the end of next week, which would be a good thing before the next weather system, warm front, cold front setup starts to play through. One of the things about the long range that I did notice today, that in spite of the fact that you do have a bit of a blocky nature to the pattern across across Greenland and on up in the Arctic regions in general with higher than normal pressures, you do have this mechanism in central Canada. If I'll roll it back, you can see this upper low drops into Hudson's Bay and just kind of rotates around. So that at the very least is helping to drive weather systems and moving them along. In the meantime, here's your trough in the west. Let's run it back from a couple of days ago. And here's your trough dropping into the west for today and starting to lift up to the northeast. Lifts up to the northeast today, but yet another trough dropping down into the west for Saturday and Sunday. Look at that. Just one after another coming down from the Pacific Northwest into the Southwest. And now we're into early next week. You still have this troughing in the west, ridge in the east, and that upper low in Canada comes down, and this actually helps to shift the trough a little bit further eastward. So it allows for, it doesn't completely shut off weather systems coming into the west. There's still some troughing there, but it's nothing like what we're seeing. So while it's not a complete cleanup of the pattern there, it at least relaxes it to a certain extent. And of course, with this particular look for the end of next week, where you've got this east-west upper low across southern Canada and a westerly flow across southern Canada into the Great Lakes and in the Northeast, this guarantees that weather systems will just keep moving along and that we won't be able to set up an onshore flow like this, other than the odd day when you get the warm front trying to get through. But we're not talking about a high to the north with northeast winds for days at a time here. You can't get it with a setup like this. So sometimes you can have that negative NAO playing out, but it doesn't necessarily translate into negative conditions this time of year in the east. In this particular instance, it's actually helping to pin these upper lows running just right around 45 to 50 degrees north from the Pacific across the eastern part of the United States and extending over into Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. So I'm liking that because not only does it keeps weather systems moving, but it actually prevents long duration heat waves from developing in the Northeast and into the Mid-Atlantic. It gets hot maybe it would get very warm to borderline hot for a day to at most two. until the next cold front comes along and cuts it off at the pass. And as we go through the long range, the GFS does seem to want to relax that troughing in the west for at least a few days, which would be good, to give the folks in the west a bit of a break and knowledge that late winter, early spring type weather doesn't have to continue as we head into the month of June, at least not nonstop anyhow. But one of the other things I wanted to point out is if you watch the progress here through time, going back from a few days ago and through the next 16 days, you'll notice that the atmosphere is very, very slowly but surely losing that winter look that it has and getting the look of the warmer season, the transitioning over from winter to spring, and soon we'll start that transition over into a summertime looking upper air. I don't see anything with regards to the tropics. I continue to just want to warn everybody, if you look at these model runs on tropicaltidbits.com, you are going to, I'm sure, every couple of runs wind up seeing the models spit out some kind of tropical storm or hurricane in the long range. And we're getting into the season now where we're going to be seeing them being readily displayed on social media to just use a salt mine's worth of salt in how you view that. Okay, we usually have the standard rule for me has always been wait till it's inside the 5-day period and then talk to me. But as far as the overall general pattern is concerned, I would look for higher pressures across the Gulf states inland, which would create lower than normal pressures down in the southern parts of the Gulf of Mexico, but particularly down in the Northwest Caribbean. That could trigger off some early development, but I'm not really seeing that type of setup at the moment. Going into the long range. Of course, things could change, but right now it looks like it's going to be pretty much on the quiet side. Javon Perry, thank you so much for hitting Super Chat tonight. I really appreciate it greatly. Thank you. Mirtha Gunter, putting on the AC. I'm sure you did, and I'm sure you're probably going to have it on today with those temperatures up in the upper 80s and lower 90s. Is this the latest Flagstaff, Arizona has seen measurable snow? I wasn't even aware that Flagstaff gets snow. Let me take a look. I have snow. It's 61 there now. Yes, apparently they did. Phoenix is having its third coldest May in the past 30 years. With more rain in the valley, overnight snow, and the Weather Service was forecasting, now this is back 2 days ago, was forecasting 4 inches of snow for parts of Flagstaff. I wasn't even paying that close attention to it. That's insane. But I guess so, and I actually see a couple stories here on Google News of snowy conditions, 8-vehicle car collision on Interstate 40 involving 2 semi-trucks and a tour bus near Flagstaff, closing the roadways down. Amazing but true. It is spring, and folks complain in the east. I mean, you complain in the northeast. We didn't really have any kind of extension of winter this year for the most part. In the West, it has been a real extension of the winter, with the trough being as powerful as it has been. You are 52 up where you are, Chuck. So you got I noticed there was a lot of Q that build up. So a lot of fair weather cumulus clouds down here, and I noticed there was a bit of a buildup on the satellite as you went to the north. So that must have kept the sun at bay for you and held your temperatures down quite a bit. Hey, Stephen Franco's on tonight. So is James NASCAR fan, and I know Scott Briller was on earlier. He's the chairman here. He's the first one on board every day, which is great. By the way, just so for those of you who know, keep your coat ready. By the way, Ruthless Goat. Just to let you know, I usually schedule the live stream sometime between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. The chat board is open, and I'm not in front of the screen every waking minute. I'm going back and forth doing a few things. But if you see it open, jump on and sometimes I do have some time. It might be a good opportunity for you to catch me with regards to any kind of questions. Alfred Phillips up in Wainwright, Alaska, 20 degrees above, 32. You're at freezing. So we've been used to seeing you when we pull up your obs in the dead of winter. 32, wind chill of about 20. Hey, that's I'm sure that's pretty reasonable. The human body's an amazing thing. It's got to feel warm to you when considering the kind of winter conditions that you have there. And to see the temperature get up to about the 32 degree mark, it must feel really, really good. William Uber's got opened up the pool, 65 degree water temperature, 13 more to go in. Yeah, I'll give you that. 65, yeah, I'm not doing that. By the way, the ocean water temperatures here are mostly in the middle 50s, and that is also not doable for me. Izzy D was on earlier. I guess he jumped off, and the early chat is a good place to where you could, if you're not going to be able to be there for the live stream, but you've got a question, you can send it to me. You can put it up there on the chat board, and I could certainly attempt to answer it. Let's see. The NHC put up a piece on their Facebook page explaining why they did Anthony Orr. I'm sorry, I'm running the chat backwards. So I'm trying to see what that was about. I guess I'll go to NHC's website, the National Hurricane Center, and figure that out. Okay, I'll do that. Let's see. Oh, okay. They talking about Andrea and why why it was named. Well, I mean, they did, Javon. They did find a 1,006 pressure. A closed circulation and the winds. I think it met all their criteria, and it was fairly close to Bermuda. So I suppose they might have also. I haven't read the Facebook piece, so I'll go back and read it. I guess they must have looked at it and said we should do something because of its proximity to Bermuda. That's a guess on my part. All right, folks, it's coming up on 6:36 Eastern Time. Again, a reminder, if you're watching this on a replay, obviously all the radar data that you've seen and the tornado watches that are up, that's all dated stuff. So be sure you go to your local National Weather Service forecast office and get to your local office page by finding that on weather.gov so that you can get the latest watches and warnings when it comes to severe weather. That should be your go-to site for the latest weather information. I am working tomorrow at WPIX in New York, and there's no early show tomorrow because there's a baseball game. There's only one newscast at 10 o'clock tomorrow night, which is great. But I will be there, and I think you can watch that online. That's WPIX TV in New York for those of you who are outside the New York area. And as far as the weekend is concerned, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I have gotten, I always need some downtime. And being that this is a holiday weekend, I may, unless there's some really crazy weather that develops somewhere, I'm probably going to take a bit of a step back as far as doing a live stream is concerned. If I'm going to do one, I'll probably do one tomorrow before noontime rather than in the evening because I won't be able to do it in the evening time. So if I do one, it'll probably be sometime around 11 a.m. And Sunday, I think, is going to be tough for me. So I'm also working Monday, Memorial Day. So Sunday this week is my only day off. So I'm going to try to spend my day off doing some fun stuff. Okay? So we'll... I know I say this sometimes, and then I wind up doing completely the opposite of what I say. Thank you very much tonight for those of you today who had put money in the Super Chat till. I got a couple of cigars coming for me. Scott Briller, enjoy your weekend in South Jersey. Javon Perry, thanks very much as well. And the plan right now is to do a Joe and Joe weather show tonight at 9:20, 9:25, right here on YouTube, where I think it's going to be its permanent home now. So 9:25 coming up on YouTube tonight, unless we both decide that by that time it's Friday night, we're worn out, and let's call it a day, call it a weekend. So you'll see it. I'll put up something on the YouTube live streaming page. I'll schedule it, and you'll get a notification if we wind up doing it. Yes, I'm just filling in from time to time, Bill. I haven't really done anything at Picks in the last year. I had a few opportunities to, but I could, and I think many of you will relate to this. I'm at the point in my life where I kind of want my weekends. So I really don't want to give up my weekends to go and work another day. So I turned a lot of work down, but they had an issue this weekend and next weekend, and I thought, you know what, why not? So I'm just going to run in and help them out. All right, everybody, have a great evening, a great weekend, a safe weekend. Remember to take a little time out on Memorial Day to remember those who have given up their lives for the freedoms that we have in this country. And we will see you either later on the Joe and Joe Weather Show or at some point over the weekend. Good night.